You will laugh at this video. Aberdeen Council's bizarre attempts to make excuses for violent pupils are so ludicrous that they are hilarious. Of course, it's not funny at the end of the day that teachers and children are getting attacked and the children are learning that they can get away with being violent. But in the meantime, see if you can keep a straight face through this. Right, background information first. Aberdeen schools more than 1,500 incidents of hitting, slapping, kicking, headbutting and biting last year. But Aberdeen City Council thinks the schools have got a perception problem. It's not reality. There's a number of incidents. That's not a real issue. It's that people are perceiving the schools in the wrong way. And they're a bit worried this is putting would-be teachers off. So they want to get to grips with the issue. So they've gathered data about the violence in their own schools. And basically they've come up with excuses for the children. Excuse number one, hunger. Aberdeen school violence is blamed on hangry primary school kids lashing out before lunch. Education bosses believe hunger around break and lunch times could be a major cause of violence in Aberdeen's primary schools. 2 in 5 primary school incidents occur between playtime and lunch. Well, let's think about the primary school schedule. There's a spell up to break time, there's a spell between break time and lunch, and there's a spell about the same length after lunch. So 2/5 of them, that's really not that much away from being evenly spread between the times. Basically, they've gathered all this data and they're just analysing statistical noise. But anyway, they've said between playtime and lunchtime seems to be the times you're most likely to get thumped in an Aberdeen primary school. And the council says learners can become unsettled and dysregulated as they await their next break time and something to eat to restore the post-adrenaline crash. So it's all caused by chemicals. It's not by naughty kids, all chemicals. Okay, set of excuses number 2, time of day. For all pupils, transition times such as breaks, change in subject or in between periods are viewed as posing risks. In other words, the perfectly innocent child gets to break time and then it just happens to them. It just happens to them that they punch someone because it's break time. The poor old kids, they were at risk of break time and it just made them punch someone. Right, let's carry on. Tuesdays are the worst day, which is said to be due to pupils being less excited to see friends after the weekend than on Monday and being expected to settle down to learn. I mean, are they not expected to settle down to learn on Mondays as well? But anyway, on Tuesdays you've got an excuse because you're not excited to see your friends anymore. But almost a quarter of reports happened on Wednesdays. So a special risk on Wednesdays. So Wednesdays also cause violent behaviour. Oh, no wonder schools are so dangerous with all these risk factors. In young adults, Wednesday is regarded as hump day, where many people find it the most difficult day to overcome, with tiredness and frustration being common. So the poor children punching each other, punching the teachers, whatever, because it's Wednesday or Tuesday. For some of our learners, there will be building anxiety around weekend and changes to routines. So around the weekend's a problem. I assume that must be Monday and Friday. So that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday are special risk days. I guess that just leaves Thursday when you can expect them to behave well. But more than a fifth happen when kids come in from playtime. So when they're hungry before break time, when they're waiting for the snack, that causes them to be violent. But also when they've just come in from playtime, the exertion and release of playtime can lead to mood slumps soon after, which obviously leads to the kids punching each other and punching the teachers. I mean, it's inevitable, isn't it? The majority of all 343 incidents logged in Aberdeen secondary schools last year happened in the morning, which is in keeping with research that shows teenage brains need more sleep in the morning than at any other age. Right, I mean, generally at schools, the morning is longer than the afternoon. That probably explains it in itself. But we've got a new excuse now. So teenagers in the morning, well, you've got an excuse. It's because your brain hasn't had enough sleep. So you punch people, and that's obviously understandable. But there's also a spike between 2 and 3 in the afternoon, which coincides with the post-lunch adrenaline crashes for older kids too, who then struggle to maintain focus until the end of the day. So we can expect the kids to behave apart from before they eat and after they eat. Apart from those times, everything should be fine. But September is the worst month, which has been put down to the long weekend and children struggling to get back into the groove. But meanwhile, it's said to be encouraging that there are upticks in reports after school holidays. Upticks, increases in reports of violence. And this is somehow good news. I didn't quite follow that one. The next issues they've got additional support needs. 12,000 of the 30,000 pupils on the Aberdeen rolls have an identified additional support need. Well, that in many cases, that means basically they've been given an excuse, and instead of being challenged and having high demands made of them, we're not going to put up with this, you need to behave properly and bring your books with you and do things properly. Instead of expecting that, they'll be given classification with additional support needs, and then you just put up with the behaviour. That's what happens in many cases. Right, what other excuses has Aberdeen City Council got for its violent pupils? They say, you're going to see a much bigger range of behaviours in primary settings as children explore their world in a developmentally delayed way. So when a little boy is trashing the classroom, throwing chairs around, destroying everything, the whole class is evacuating, he's exploring the world in a developmentally delayed way. And they say it would explain some of the behaviours that we might not have seen previously in primary schools as children try to make sense of their environment. So smashing the place up, assaulting other children, that's all to do with making sense of the environment. I find that when I go somewhere new and I'm trying to make sense of the environment, I just can't help violently assaulting people, I don't think. And what else do the council say? They say this violence is triggered by pupils being denied access or having their preference blocked. In other words, the pupil says, I want to go to such a place, like, I don't want to be in this lesson anymore, I want to go. And the teacher says, no. Or preference blocked. Pupil wants something. Teacher says, no. And so pupil lashes out. But that's triggered. So it's caused it. It's not the pupil's fault. It's just blocking their preferences causes violence in them. They then say most cases involving physical contact occur in classrooms, mostly relate to pupils being asked to do something. Well, the solution is obvious, isn't it? Just stop asking the pupils to do anything. Just let them do as they please, and it'll be fine. So most cases of physical violence occur in classrooms. Remember, break times and going in between classrooms are a particular risk time, but most of it actually occurs in classrooms. So if we can just eliminate the outside the classroom and the inside the classroom bit, then we'll have the problem sorted. Right, Aberdeen City Council, what's their response to this, having gathered their data? Well, they say they found fascinating insights that show a really clear picture around the root cause of some incidents. The root cause, like it being Tuesday, it being the afternoon, or whatever. And so officials hope mapping out when and where incidents happen will better inform staff on how to avoid and manage these situations. Well, it just won't. How does it help to know that the particular risk times are first thing in the morning, later in the morning, and in the afternoon, and in the break times? And I mean, how does it help? It doesn't help at all. Are you supposed to have no school on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday? Or don't have school early, or before or after break, or before or after lunch, or between 2 and 3 p.m.? Don't block pupils' preferences. In other words, don't say no to them. And what do the teachers report in Aberdeen schools? They say that when they raise concerns about pupil behaviour and violence in particular, that they often fear stigma and victim shaming within the schools. In other words, the head teacher or senior staff taking oh, well, he behaves himself for me. Well, maybe he does, because you're the head teacher. And he thinks that might be a bit risky. So he'll just have his fun with with a new teacher down the corridor. And so teachers are made to feel guilty for raising these serious issues. So what else has the council been doing? Mandatory conflict de-escalation training. Right, naughty children do not need conflict de-escalation, they need punishing. And learning that what they've done is wrong and it's not going to be put up with. You're not going to get away with behaving like that. Anyway, Aberdeen City Council is designing its own course for staff, which teaches them how to step in early, maintain calmness, and recognise what might be setting off their pupils. In other words, find what the excuse is. So if a pupil's attacking another one, kicking them as they lie there on the ground, you've got to work out what set them off. What is it that caused that pupil to engage in that violent behaviour? The education chief says the increase in incidents logged as pupils externalising behaviour rather than being violent shows teachers now understand the youngsters better. So there's been a violent assault. Let's say a teacher has been kicked. Then it used to be the teacher would write that down as a violent issue, but that showed that teachers really didn't understand. Whereas now they'd record it as externalising behaviour. And that shows that the teachers really understand what's going on with the pupils. Personalised plans and reviewing school environments to reduce triggers is the next step, followed by post-incident learning. So they're going to take away these so-called triggers like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, morning, afternoon, lunch. They're going to try and take those away and thereby avoid violent incidents. The only one that they really can take away is saying no. They can stop saying, I think a lot of schools they basically have stopped saying no to pupils. Right, the council, of course, also recommends restorative conversations in line with government advice. So they're saying these should be held with the pupils, staff and others involved to repair any harm caused and help youngsters understand the impact of their actions, which is just weak, feeble and pathetic. And the other children look at it and they just think it's a joke and people get away with whatever they have done. Pupils need to be punished. It's like if you commit a serious crime, the judge doesn't say, right, okay, you've murdered someone and we're going to have a chat about it so that you realise that you really hadn't ought to have done that. That the person didn't really like that. That wasn't really what they wanted. And so you probably say sorry. You really do need to say sorry and then we're all happy again. I mean, okay, restoring relationships, that's all very valid. That can happen alongside a just system of punishments. So restorative conversation, I mean, that's what's basically caused chaos in Scottish schools over the last 10 years. And the unions are calling for restorative practitioners to be hired by the council. So this approach that is a total failure, but the unions won't admit that because the union's ideology is in line with restorative practice. So they just want the council to pay for ever more people to have these pointless, cosy chats with children who've been violent. I mean, it really does seem pretty hopeless, doesn't it? So why is this happening? Let's get to the heart of the problem. The heart of the problem is the philosophy of atheistic humanism and the belief that people are inherently good, including children, they're inherently good. So if a child is doing something wrong, it's not their fault. There must be something external to them that has caused them to do it wrong. So if you can take away the cause, then the problem's solved. They will be angelic, utterly angelic. In other words, there's no such thing as moral responsibility. Nothing's ever anyone's fault. No one ever deserves punishment because they would have been good if it hadn't been for something that's happened to them. And I just don't agree with that. People are not inherently good. Children are not inherently good. Children, like adults, need correction. They need moral instructions. They need to learn what's right and wrong. And they need, in many cases, to experience justice. With children, it's a pretty low-level way. But you do something naughty, you're disobedient, you attack someone, and you get punished. And you learn that was wrong, and you don't get away with it. So maybe I need to change and not do that anymore. Every society through every age of human history has accepted that you need to punish children. Whereas the Scottish Government thinks it's seen the light and you actually don't need to punish children. And that's why Scottish schools are in such a state. I mean, punishment is the P word in Scottish schools. You just would not dare utter that word or you'd be seen as, you'd probably end up on some sort of child abuse register or something. But that is the missing ingredient in terms of school discipline. So how's it worked out in Scottish schools? Massive pain, educational disruption, despairing teachers, upset children, other children developing into little monsters. And what are they going to grow up into? Criminals, generally obnoxious adults, very possibly in many cases. But it doesn't matter how bad the situation gets, the Scottish Government sticks to its guns and is utterly immune to the evidence. The Conservatives in the Parliament have tiptoed around the issue, but they won't really get to the heart of it of saying we need punishments. Reform, maybe you're thinking, reform will get into the Parliament, they'll do something about it. No, they won't. No, they won't. Reform's only interested in education as far as it intersects with immigration, which is their obsession. But the Scottish Family Party, we understand the problem and we understand how to fix it. Right, thanks for watching. Do chip into our election fundraiser. There's a link below. And see you next time.